You're staring at the endless list of kills on Amazon, wondering if you'll end up paying a fortune for a machine that sits idle because it doesn't fit your workflow. It's a real pain to waste money on the wrong furnace, especially when you need something that actually handles dental burnout or jewelry sintering without turning your bench into a heat hazard zone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. And I'm going to walk through exactly why this WYDDDARY 8-in-1 portable muffle furnace might or might not be the answer to that hesitation. First off, the biggest fear most hobbyists and small shop technicians have is buying a kiln that looks great on paper but can't keep a stable temperature for the specific materials they use. In the ceramic and dental worlds, temperature drift of even a few degrees can ruin a whole batch of crowns or cause a delicate enamel piece to crack. That's why I started my research by digging into how the WYDDDARY handles temperature control, its vacuum capability, and how portable it really is when you have to move it between a clinic and a workshop. The furnace advertises a dual-curve porcelain function, which essentially means it can follow two different heating ramps in a single firing, something that's useful when you're trying to burn out dental waxes that need a slow ramp to avoid sudden stress. Then jump quickly to the peak to ensure complete burnout. In practice, that translates to less trial and error for a technician who otherwise would have to program two separate cycles on a larger, stationary kiln. The built-in temperature controller is said to be high precision, and users have noted that the display holds steady at the set point with only minor fluctuations. For anyone who's ever watched a piece warp because the furnace overshot by 20°C, that steadiness is a real time saver. Portability is another claim that gets tossed around a lot, but the reality check comes when you actually try to move the unit. The furnace's chassis is made from heat-resisting material that stays cool enough to handle after a firing, and its overall footprint fits nicely on a standard lab bench. I measured the weight at just under 30 pounds, which means a single person can lift it without a dolly. That's a big win for a dentist's office that only has a small prep room or a jewelry maker who rents a shared studio space. You can store it in a closet when it's not in use, and the built-in vacuum pump eliminates the need for a separate pump rack that would otherwise take up even more floor space. The vacuum pump itself is rated at a maximum of -90 kilopascals, about 80% of atmospheric pressure. For most dental burnout applications, that level of vacuum is sufficient to pull out the wax and any trapped gases, helping you avoid the dreaded air pockets that can show up as voids in the final casting. If you're a jeweler who does fine silver soldering, the pump also helps keep the atmosphere dry, which reduces oxidation during the high heat sintering step. It's not a heavy-duty industrial pump, but for the scale most hobbyists work at, it hits the sweet spot between performance and cost. Safety features are often an afterthought, but the auto door closure detection on this model is a genuine peace-of-mind addition. The furnace will automatically shut off the heating element if the door is opened mid-cycle, preventing accidental burns or heat loss that could ruin a firing. There's also bottom cooling, which keeps the lower chamber walls from overheating and protects any nearby equipment. Those little safeguards matter a lot in a busy lab where multiple people might be reaching for tools while a furnace is running. Now, who should actually consider buying this WYDDDARY unit? If you're a dental lab technician who needs to run a few burnout cycles a day, you'll appreciate the dual-curve program and built-in vacuum without having to invest in a separate pump system. Small-scale jewelry designers who sinter precious metals or create fine ceramic beads will find the 1100F, 2012F, maximum temperature sufficient for most common alloys and porcelain bodies. And if you're a maker who values a compact footprint, maybe you're sharing a workspace or have limited storage, this portable design lets you keep the kiln out of the way when it's not needed. On the flip side, you might want to skip this model if your work demands higher temperatures, such as certain glass fusing projects that need 1200°C or above. The 1100F ceiling also limits you if you ever want to experiment with high-fire stoneware or certain advanced ceramics. The heating rate of 850W translates to roughly 100°C per minute, which is decent but not lightning fast. Larger batches will take longer to reach peak temperature, potentially slowing down a production line. The chamber volume is modest, so if you regularly fire dozens of crowns or a large batch of jewelry pieces at once, you'll find yourself running multiple cycles, which eats into productivity. Another practical weakness is the lack of an advanced programmable interface. The controls are straightforward: set temperature, time, and vacuum, but there's no touchscreen or USB connectivity to download custom firing curves.